Hi, Faith here for Key Critical. Today, we are going to look at the importance and power of keeping a journal. Right now, you might be staring at a blank page, feeling that familiar tension in your chest, that hesitation, that freeze, that moment where your mind suddenly goes empty, even though you have so much to say. It's the same feeling you had back in school when the cursor blinked at the top of a Word document, silently judging you. You know, journaling could help. You've heard it 100 times. But starting feels heavier than it should. And that's exactly why this matters. Because when you don't write, you don't process. When you don't process, you carry everything with you. The stress, the frustration, the half-made decisions, the quiet resentment, the fear you don't admit out loud. It all stacks up. You think you're being logical, rational, level-headed, but underneath, invisible forces are shaping your choices. You overvalue what's yours just because it's yours. You cling to ideas, habits, and decisions the same way you'd cling to an old car you're trying to sell for way more than it's worth. And the cost of that bias is clarity. The cost is progress. What's really going on is this. Your mind is not as objective as you think it is. Fear disguises itself as reason. Comfort disguises itself as loyalty. And emotional baggage disguises itself as just how things are. Journaling cuts through that noise. It forces you to step outside yourself and ask better questions. Like what advice you'd give someone else if they were standing exactly where you are right now. Suddenly, wisdom appears. Because you've removed your ego from the equation. It also exposes the limits you've quietly accepted, the rules you never agreed to, but live by anyway. History is full of moments where someone shattered a belief simply because they refused to accept it. The 4-minute mile was once considered impossible until it wasn't. And the same thing happens on a personal level when you ask what you'd do if fear had no voice and failure wasn't an option. That question alone can rewrite your future. Then there are boundaries. The invisible lines you don't draw because you're afraid of disappointing people. You say yes when you mean no. You stretch yourself thin chasing things that don't align. And slowly, your energy leaks away. Writing helps you see where your time, focus, and creativity are being drained, and where you need to start protecting them. Journaling also brings up the uncomfortable stuff. The grudges you pretend don't matter. The names that still tighten your jaw. Carrying that weight doesn't punish anyone else. It only traps you. Forgiveness isn't approval. It's release. And writing gives you a safe place to admit who you're still angry at and who you're ready to let go of. And finally, it confronts change. We crave growth, but resist transformation. We want better results without becoming someone new. Journaling reveals how much you've already evolved and where you're still fighting the next version of yourself. When you ask what you've changed your mind about, you prove to yourself that growth is already happening. So here's the solution. Simple, powerful, and immediate. First, take 5 minutes today and write advice to yourself as if you were helping a close friend. Second, write 1 page answering what you would do if fear had no control over your decisions. Third, list 1 thing you need to start saying no to this week to protect your energy and focus. That's it. That's the start. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you slow down long enough to listen to yourself. And journaling is how you do that. Subscribe, join, and like.